The CEO stormed into the security office, her voice shaking the walls. "You're fired. Who gave you the right to enter the server room?" But the young guard didn't flinch. He simply slid a small USB drive across the table. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "you were about to lose $100 million. Silence followed, and then chaos erupted. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Derek Miles had worked the night shift at Holotech for nearly 3 years. Quiet, disciplined, ex-Marine. Most of the office staff barely knew his name. The CEO, Natalie Harper, certainly didn't. That was until 2:47 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Rain battered the glass windows as Derek noticed something strange on his monitor. An anomaly in the building's internal network log. A blinking access attempt from an IP not registered to any company device. Location, server room 03B. His gut clenched. Most guards would have ignored it. Its job, right? But Derek wasn't most guards. Something in the pattern, repetitive, disguised pings trying to mimic internal systems, felt wrong. Very wrong. He made the decision in seconds. Grabbed his ID, bypassed security protocols, and swiped himself into the restricted server room. The moment he stepped in, a man in a janitor uniform was hunched over the server cabinet, unscrewing the panel, not an IT badge in sight. "Hey!" Derek's voice thundered. The man jolted, dropped the tool, and bolted past him. Derek chased him halfway down the corridor before losing him in the emergency stairwell. When he returned, the server's backup line had been bypassed, and a small microchip had been inserted behind the primary access port. He ripped it out and called it in. But what came next shocked him more than the attempted sabotage. By 9 a.m., Natalie Harper summoned him to her office. "Explain to me," she began coldly, arms crossed, "why you were in a high-clearance room without authorization." "I stopped a breach. Someone tried to access sensitive data. I found this." He held out the chip. Her jaw clenched. "That is not your job. You broke protocol. You entered without clearance. Effective immediately, you're terminated." Just like that. No thank you. No investigation. Just a cold dismissal. Derek walked out without a word. But he left that USB drive, the backup footage of the incident, on her assistant's desk. He didn't know that within 24 hours, the chip would trigger a cascade of horrors that would shake the company to its core. And he didn't expect her to call him back. But Natalie Harper was about to learn the truth, and it would cost her far more than just her pride. Natalie Harper never second-guessed herself. At 38, she'd clawed her way to the top of Holotech, a multi-billion-dollar AI software company. She didn't rise by being soft. She rose by being exact, ruthless if needed. So when she fired that security guard, what was his name again? Derek? She moved on. One less liability. But something gnawed at her later that night. That chip, that footage he left. She hadn't reviewed it. Her assistant, Melanie, said she was handling it. But Melanie hadn't shown up for work today. Odd. By noon, the IT director burst into her office, pale as paper. "Ma'am, we have a major breach." Natalie's heart sank. Define major. Massive outgoing data pings from our backup servers. Code names, banking details, encryption keys. Someone's been siphoning information. Slowly, over months. The breach protocol failed. Whoever set it up knew our systems better than we do. She didn't breathe. "Could we stop it?" The man shook his head. "We only noticed it because the system crashed. That chip we pulled out, it was blocking detection logs. Whoever removed it saved us." Natalie's throat dried. Derek. She rushed to security, heart pounding, and demanded the footage he left. When she saw it, Derek chasing the imposter, tackling him to the floor before being shoved off, she felt like vomiting. She had fired the man who stopped a $100 million theft. Worse, he'd walked out with nothing. No defense, no anger, just silence. By 4 p.m., her team traced the hacker. Stefan Cruz, a former employee terminated 6 months ago. A genius with a grudge. He'd bribed someone in custodial to get him in. He nearly succeeded, until Derek caught him. Natalie canceled her meetings, found Derek's emergency contact. No answer. She drove herself, in her black SUV, to a modest suburb just outside the city. A little house, clean, quiet. She knocked. A small girl, maybe 10, opened the door. "Hi." Natalie blinked. "Is Derek home?" "He's in the garage," the girl said, "fixing the sink for Mrs. Ortega. She's our neighbor. He fixes everything for her. She's really old and doesn't have money." Natalie froze. This man, whom she'd fired like garbage, was spending his evening helping an elderly neighbor for free? She walked to the garage. Derek stood there, sleeves rolled up, hands coated in rust, kneeling beside a pipe. He didn't look up. "Whatever you're selling, not interested." "It's not a sale," she said quietly. "It's an apology." He glanced at her, cold, cautious, controlled. "Took you long enough." Natalie's voice faltered. "You saved the company. You caught the breach. I did my job." Derek cut in, standing. "You fired me for that." Her shoulders dropped. "I was wrong." He wiped his hands, grabbed a water bottle. "Apologies are easy. Fixing damage isn't." There was a pause, then he added, "You know what's harder than fixing a pipe? Telling your daughter you lost your job for doing the right thing." Natalie looked down. "I want to make it right. I want you back, on your terms." Derek's eyes narrowed. "What changed?" "Everything," she whispered. "The company nearly collapsed, and it took losing someone who cared enough to act, to realize how blind I was." He didn't answer immediately. Then he said something that hit her hard. "Power isn't in title, Ms. Harper. It's in choosing what kind of person you'll be when no one's watching." She swallowed back the guilt. "Then let me prove I'm not who I was." That night, Holotech issued a public statement. Security specialist Derek Miles is reinstated with full honors. He will now serve as Director of Integrity Operations, a new division designed to prevent future breaches. But what truly broke the internet was the photo of Natalie standing beside him as he handed a thank you gift to Mrs. Ortega, the elderly neighbor. The caption read, "Character is what you do when no one is watching." And Holotech's stock soared the next day. The promotion felt like justice, but it also felt like bait. Derek knew corporate culture too well. One moment you're a hero, the next you're a headline scapegoat. Still, he took the role. Not for power, not for a second chance, but because he knew something no one else did. That chip wasn't the only one. 2 weeks after his return, Derek was reviewing archived network logs in his new office, a modest corner unit overlooking the rooftop HVAC system. While others marveled at the headlines praising Holotech's redemption arc, Derek saw patterns. Red flags no one had thought to chase. The breach hadn't been a solo job. Someone on the inside had been running cover. He brought it to Natalie, showed her the packets, the irregular employee swipe data, the log overrides that couldn't have come from Stefan Cruz. She leaned forward, eyes wide. "You're saying someone at the executive level was helping him?" "I'm saying someone still is," Derek replied grimly. "And if I go poking without cover, I'll be tossed out again, this time permanently." Natalie didn't hesitate. Find them. I'll back you. The next day, he brought in one of his old military contacts. Lisa Granger, former cyber forensics officer, now running a boutique firm out of Boston. Young, sharp, with an iron memory and a no-nonsense attitude. She was skeptical. You really think this goes that high? Derek nodded. Too clean, too controlled. Only the C-suite has the kind of access logs I'm seeing scrubbed. Lisa dug in. Within 3 days, they found it. The CFO, Malcolm Bray. It wasn't just complicity. It was masterminding. Bray had been bleeding the company dry, slowly, carefully, creating shell vendors that siphoned millions in the guise of consulting fees. When Cruz was fired and blackmailed Bray for money, he'd allowed him back in to keep him quiet. The breach wasn't to harm Holotech. It was to erase traces of Bray's theft before an audit. But Derek had caught Cruz too soon. Natalie was floored. We built this company together. He helped me. No, Derek interrupted. He used you. And he used the fact that you'd never looked twice at a janitor or guard or anyone beneath you. The words stung, but she didn't deny them. So she made the call. Board meeting, emergency session. Bray strolled in, calm as ever, Armani suit immaculate, Rolex gleaming. But when the projector lit up and Derek played audio of Bray threatening Cruz to destroy files, his face drained of color. Natalie leaned in. Malcolm, any comment? He didn't say a word. Security escorted him out 20 minutes later. The board wanted to sweep it under the rug, but Natalie refused. We own this, she told them, and we rebuild from it. Publicly. The press release the next day shocked everyone. Holotech's CFO fired in $96 million internal theft scandal, caught by rehired security guard. But that wasn't the part that made headlines. It was the closing quote, Natalie's. I built this company with vision. He saved it with integrity. From now on, we honor both. Derek became more than a director after that. He became the face of accountability, the man who did the right thing even when it cost him everything. But he never forgot what started it all. A blinking light, a moment of instinct, and a decision to walk into a room where he didn't belong, but absolutely needed to be. It started with silence. Derek noticed it the day after the press release went viral. His inbox went eerily quiet. Normally, he'd get 30 emails before 9 a.m., security reports, vendor alerts, staff check-ins. That morning, just 2, both generic. Then came the strange glances in the elevator, a cold shoulder from a VP he'd helped last week. Lisa Granger, his cyber forensics ally, texted once. Watch your back. Some folks aren't happy you stayed. By lunch, Derek was being watched. A black SUV parked across from his home. Same make, same tinted windows. Every morning, every night. He didn't mention it to Natalie. Not yet. She had just begun regaining the board's trust. Holotech stock had jumped 11% after the public transparency campaign. She'd even brought Derek on stage at a press conference as a new kind of leadership. But behind closed doors? Not everyone applauded, especially those still hiding skeletons. One night, as Derek walked his daughter Mia back from soccer practice, he noticed the SUV following slower than usual. At a red light, he turned abruptly into a gas station. The SUV paused, then sped off. That was the final straw. He called Lisa. Someone's trying to scare me. Her voice was firm. Then we scare them back. The next day, Derek returned to Holotech with hidden recording gear and a burner phone. Lisa had installed silent sniffers in the network, digital traps to catch unauthorized monitoring, email scrapes, and backdoor logins. It took 36 hours. They caught something big. A back-channel communication chain between two board members, Robert Keane and Elise Tanaka, plotting to frame Derek. They knew Bray had gone down and feared who Derek might uncover next. So their plan was simple. Create false documents, suggest Derek falsified the crew's evidence, and anonymously leak them to the press. Corporate assassination. Natalie's hands trembled when she saw the proof. They wanted to destroy you and me. Derek didn't blink. They still do. But now we don't fight them from inside the boardroom. He went to the media first. An op-ed, ghost-written by Lisa, titled, "The Price of Truth: Why Whistleblowers Are Still Targets in Corporate America." In it, he never named names, but he detailed how companies reward silence, punish courage, and bury the truth under NDAs and fake handshakes. The piece went viral. TV interviews followed. Natalie Harper doubled down. She suspended both Keane and Tanaka pending investigation and created an internal oversight board, led by Derek himself. The tide turned hard. Staff who once avoided him now applauded him in the hallway. And as for the black SUV, it stopped showing up. But there was one thing Derek couldn't shake, that nagging thought. If they tried this, what else are they hiding? Because corruption doesn't disappear overnight. And revenge, well, that was still coming. 2 months passed. On the surface, Holotech was thriving. Shareholders smiled, employees held their heads higher. Media outlets praised the company's transparency initiative, spearheaded by Derek Miles, now head of corporate integrity. But underneath the surface, Derek was digging. He knew that Robert Keane and Elise Tanaka weren't the masterminds. They were tools. Someone else had been feeding them data, someone who still had access, someone who'd covered up dozens of unethical financial decisions going back over a year. And Derek found the first crack where no one else looked: employee insurance records. Specifically, false injury claims paid out to shell companies. Tens of thousands of dollars at first, then hundreds of thousands, hidden under generic codes. A quiet trickle that became a river. It all pointed to one person, the COO, Lance Redwood. Lance was slick, charismatic, Harvard-educated. With his sharp suits and smooth tone, most people thought he was the future of Holotech. But Derek saw it. The forced charm, the vague responses, the way he never quite answered direct questions. So Derek built a trap. He scheduled a routine compliance audit with an outside agency. In truth, it was Lisa Granger and her team, fully embedded and cloaked under dummy credentials. They ran forensic traces on Lance's financial logs, private server access, and anonymized vendor activity. What they found? Staggering. Lance had created 7 false vendors, all tied to a single offshore entity registered in the Caymans. The trail was covered in layers, but it was all there. Derek took it to Natalie. She stared at the data, then looked up, stunned. We trusted him. He's the one who helped write the ethics policy. Derek leaned forward. Exactly. That's why no one questioned him. The next morning, Natalie called for a private executive meeting. No assistants, no legal reps. Just her, Derek, and Lance. It started quietly. Natalie said, "We're reviewing compliance gaps. Derek has some questions." Lance smirked, always happy to help. Derek slid a single printed sheet across the table. Lance's face froze. Account numbers, company names, signatures, all his. "You've been stealing from the company you claim to protect," Derek said calmly. "And you used Stefan Cruz and Bray to hide it." Lance tried to recover. This is absurd. Say another word, Natalie interrupted, and I swear I'll press charges before you hit the parking lot. There was no exit. Security entered. Lance was escorted out silently. Within hours, every internal email system, financial portal, and access gate at Holotech was purged of his credentials. He was done. The next board meeting was tense. Derek presented everything: how the breach started, who covered it, and how corporate negligence nearly cost Holotech everything. When he finished, Natalie stood. I put profits before people. I failed to listen when the quietest voice in the room had the truth. That changes now. She stepped aside. And if the board agrees, I nominate Derek Miles as our new Chief Operations Officer. A murmur filled the room. One by one, hands raised. It was unanimous. Months later, Holotech had transformed. No more glass ceilings. No more silenced voices. Derek started a foundation to support whistleblowers in tech. He hired veterans, single parents, reformed ex-cons, anyone society wrote off, because he knew their value. And every Friday night, he still helped Mrs. Ortega with her groceries, because no title, no matter how high, could ever mean more than doing the right thing when no one's watching.